I can't believe that we're doing this podcast today about relaxed casual style because yesterday I got to get all dressed up and I had so much fun dressing up. I don't often get to wear like pretty high heels and pretty dresses because I mean, for work I dress up, it feels so natural to me. But when I get to like put a dress on and get out of my element and do something bright and fun, it feels really good. I'm not sure if you got to dress up or what you did yesterday.
No, yeah. Well, I guess I did dress up for like work. But we own a building and our tenants moved out. It's like a shop storefront. And
Oh,
so it was kind of neat. Like I don't really have high expectations of Valentine's Day, like
yeah.
ever. It's just not my jam. I love to spoil my kids.
Oh,
In a relationship aspect, I'm happy with flowers and a card. And so it was kind of neat. We got to put in ceiling fans and I like cocked the window seal and like did
yes.
stuff like that. But I had wine and he had a drink and we were just doing that and it was really fun. So yeah, that's how we spent Valentine's.
I just love hearing how people celebrate in general. I follow Chrissy Teigen on Instagram and she had the most fabulous Galentine's Day and it made me want to do Galentine's. I haven't had a Galentine's Day party in years, like before my baby. So it must have been like maybe actually, I think my last Galentine's Day party was with Cheryl.
Oh,
Yeah, years ago. But anyways, Chrissy Teigen rented out a movie theater and bought all of her friends red robes
oh my
and
God.
ordered spaghetti and they watched Magic Mike and had boas and red robes. I'm like, what the? I'm like, I totally would have done that too. Like
Yeah.
that's my kind of
Galentine's
casual.
Yeah, Valentine's is actually a huge thing, and maybe that's why too I don't like focus on Valentine's, but just like owning a
Mhm.
boutique. We had our sixth Galentine's event on
Oh,
Sunday,
yeah.
and so that's just a whole production of getting ready for that for like a month, and it's just a really great time. But I think you should put like it on the books to plan one for next year.
I am. I actually was thinking about that this morning. I'm like, if I put it in my calendar, I just do it. Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing around it. Like, I just do it. And because you just mentioned your boutique, I want to introduce everybody. I have a guest today, and I'm so excited. I wanted to continue the conversation I had last week about elevating your everyday style because that looks different for everybody. And I thought that you would be a great guest because you have a boutique store, you have a lot of casual pieces. So, can you please share with me a little bit more about you so that our audience can get to know you as well? Your store name, where you're at, when you started, any cool fact?
Yeah. My name's Adrian. I go by Age, and I am owner of the American Alchemy. It is primarily a women's boutique with, all the good stuff, accessories and some fun house goods and stuff. But we really do have like a casual, kind of laid back approach to the clothing in the shop, but a really elevated like approach to our customer service and fabrication. So like that's kind of where I feel like the gold is in our shop. um,
Mhm.
but we are 6 years old. Um, I, I I think it's funny because if you knew where I was, I'm from Ripon, Wisconsin. It is seriously smack dab in the middle of like country land and like farming and like all that kind of stuff. But we also, just like about 10 minutes from our little town, have a lake where a lot of the Illinois people and like surrounding like states come in to boat for the summer and maybe have second homes and whatnot. And so it's a real eclectic mix of like customers that come through our town. And when I first moved here 7 years ago, the entire strip had a coffee shop, a restaurant, and I want to say two stores, an antique store, and I can't even remember what the other one is. Now our street is like the real estate is coveted. As soon as something opens up, it is like already has like 15, 20 people trying to get a space on Watson Street because we really just started to curate such a great mix of business owners and stores that really complement each other, but also business owners who want to work together. So it's just been really neat to see that town be completely empty and a lot of like buildings that needed to be renovated to booming and like no space is empty.
That is really awesome. And I do work with people all over the US. You and I have gone to work together virtually. We've done
Yeah.
blog posts in the past. We've had so much fun creative collaborations that we've done together. This is the first time though that I get to have you on the podcast, which is awesome. And I know you can't unless you're on YouTube right now. I do have a YouTube channel if you're listening to the podcast and you just want to see what we look like and what we're wearing today, you can hop onto YouTube as well and check us out. But yeah, I feel like what you're doing in your community is so wonderful. I always talk to people about how important community is. And even in a place that is casual, like you need pieces that feel good. I find that a lot of clients right now, because of how life has just drastically changed for them, um, finding what this like casual, relaxed look feels like and should look like. I mean, it's different for everybody. So they're trying to discover, like, okay, if I'm not wearing yoga pants and I'm not wearing a full on dress or a
Yeah.
suit, like, what is that in between? So I want to hear from you, from your own personal style, and maybe your personal style is like part of like what you shop for at the store when you shop, but how would you describe your own personal style when it comes to like your relaxed casual look?
Um, I would say that it's pretty effortless. Like, I mean, it looks effortless, but it actually, I think a lot of people overthink being casual because
Hmm.
it can be really easy to look frumpy or like not put together. And so sometimes you can, you know, overdo it, like you're trying to overcompensate for those relaxed pieces. And
Hmm.
then you end up not having a relaxed look anymore because you've
Yes.
covered it in, all kinds of different pieces and belts and fancy shoes and, all that kind of stuff. And so you're no longer looking relaxed anymore. So I feel like my style and the shop style is just really good quality pieces and fits where the fabrics are going to fall really nice. They're going to fit really well. The silhouettes are, the designers are really nailing it for that casual fit without like getting like frumpy sweats where it's sagging out in the butt or where your t-shirts are starting to get loose and wrinkly by the end of the day or midday. So that's kind of just like where I think my style goes. Like I want to have pieces that I can like wear with my kids, like running
Hmm.
them back and forth on a Monday, and where I'm not going to the shop and wear this like two-piece, jogger set that I can throw maybe like a coat over that's going
Yeah.
to make me look kind of put together, but I'm not trying to be super fancy. But then I can go to work in that same jogger set on a Thursday, maybe put on like Doc Martens and like a more
Mhm.
tailored, like blazer type longer coat and a hat or something. And now I've just like transformed that jogger set so it looks a little bit more polished, but I only added a coat and like
Yeah.
a good clean shoe.
I am a total fan of like the jogger set and a cool boiled wool coat over or
Yeah.
a puffer. But it's so funny because for my personal style, when it comes to relax, I'm going to kind of stand up so people can see.
Yeah.
For me today, this is a relaxed look for me. My secret to relaxed personally is like a sweater. Usually it's like something I can easily throw on. If it's summertime, it's like a nice, like you said, good quality t-shirt or a long sleeve shirt that I pull on. I like to layer jewelry, even casually with the kids. Like I'm
Yeah.
always wearing jewelry. And then I only wear jeans for my like casual wear when I'm not working, but I don't wear jeans to work. But today I'm wearing like this jogger. You can't see it all the way, but just like these jogger pants, and they look like dress pants when I wear them. People think I'm wearing dress pants. I'm like, no, they're cotton joggers and they're super comfy. They're not pilled or faded or anything, so they look really polished.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think when people think of relaxed, casual, everyday kind of wear, I think for everyone it's slightly different with what they're comfortable with. Like for me, I love the jogger set. I can't pull it off because I still feel too casual, but for my clients, we do it all the time and they look good and they feel good and they run their errands and all that stuff. So
yeah,
I think when it comes to that, that's why I wanted you to share what yours is and what mine is, because for everyone it's so different and you have to find like what you feel comfortable wearing, and for you what your throw on pieces are, like what can you easily throw on and still feel soft, nothing restrictive. I think that's a
yeah.
good thing for casual wear, like you don't want something restrictive, so
It
it's really
defeats the
important.
purpose. Like if you're wearing a casual like jogger set that is too tight or like bad fabric and you're like
Hmm.
uncomfortable in it. But I do love the fact that you brought up like layering jewelry and stuff. Like I am never without just like a good like basic like gold hoop and some layering pieces. I
Yeah.
like sleep in my bangles, like, but I
Hmm.
just feel like that's like an easy way to kind of take that casual look and just kind of make it a little bit more elevated.
Yes, I love that. And if you can't see what we're both wearing, we obviously we did not plan this. We both have two layered
Yeah.
necklaces. The shorter one that's usually slightly thicker, and then you
Yep.
have the longer one with a pendant. I've got my bumblebee. You've got, what's your pendant?
Mine is a gold dip seashell.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. The seashell. And when you do the layered look and you pick pendants, obviously you might find a pendant you just like and there's nothing behind it. But if there is something you like and there's like a story behind it or something that you associate it with, it makes it that much more special. So
Yeah.
it is an easy way to layer it. And for earrings, because people always question, like, well, if I'm layering necklaces, is it too much to wear earrings? No.
No.
We both have earrings on.
Yep.
Yeah, they're both like a
Yeah.
variation of a hoop.
Yeah.
I love it. And for you, like when you're working with people that come in the store, how do you help them find what works for them, what they're actually going to wear, what they feel good wearing? How do you help them through that?
It really starts with them first, like just kind of first seeing like what they're kind of looking for. And then I'll kind of guide them and let them know like what our best sellers are, or like the best fits that are working for most body types. I'll kind
Yeah.
of look at their body type and see what I think might work for them. But we just start out having fun. We're not like really like, well, this isn't going to work for you because you're only 5 feet or, something like that. It's just like, seeing their expression when I show them something first, like, because do they love it? Are they already turned off by like the color? Are they not feeling it?
Mhm.
And then just putting a bunch of stuff in there and letting them have fun, but also not just leaving them in there. So that when they put something on, like, hey, let me see it, so that I can help them and be like, okay, well, that sweater, it does go with it, but that's not working. So why don't we try this sweater or the same sweater in a different color, and just really making sure that they look clean and polished,
Yes.
because I think sometimes it can be overwhelming. And I also think that like when you go shopping, if it's not your jam,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of things to see and whatnot, and to just assume what fits or what doesn't fit, I think you really should ask the people that are like there, that are working there, because they've seen it tried on. They know how the fabrics stretch or how they lay and what kind of colors are like working together. And I've never, it's really funny. So I'm 43 and I have been in retail since I was 15. And I have been, with like companies from Forever 21 to Guess and just all over the board. Betsy Johnson, I worked there for a while. And I have never sold anyone anything that I was just trying to get a sale, like
Yeah.
ever. Because I'm like, they're gonna come back. They're not gonna be happy. They're gonna return it, or they will never come back because they didn't like it, you know? So I just think, like, especially like if you do work with Tanya, or you find that person that you work with and that you trust and that you know that they're really looking out for you and your comfort and how you look, because there's nothing better than helping style somebody. And like you can tell when somebody comes out of the room and they are like from the inside out, like glowing because they're so
Mhm.
happy with how something's fitting them. And if somebody comes out and they're already like fussing and kind of doing things, and I can tell they're trying to like talk themselves into loving something, I will always say, you know, I don't think that this is the right piece for you because you've only been out of the fitting room for a couple of seconds and you've not stopped like pulling on that. So that's not going to get any better once you're out of here. Um, so yeah, I don't know where I was going with that.
But I can stop you right there because it's like you're reading my mind and you listen to every podcast I've ever done. I talk about that a lot with people in the decision making process. Like you don't need to know fashion to make decisions sometimes. Like our
Yeah,
intuition, even in the sense of like buying things, there's a difference between hesitating because it's new and hesitating because you're fidgeting and something feels off. And you don't even
yeah,
need to know exactly why if you're not into fashion and don't want to deep into it. But I do the same thing with clients. If they're fidgeting, it doesn't matter how good the piece looks on them,
yeah,
something feels off and they're not going to pull it out of their closet. They're not going to
yeah,
wear it and it's just a waste of money.
yeah,
So, I absolutely love that you said that because I talk about that all the time with people too. I'm like, when you walk out of the fitting room, you glow. Like you will know when you start trying
yeah,
on pieces that fit well. It's gonna be easier to make decisions because you're like, oh, I know what fits now and I know what lights me up. And so then when you try a piece that doesn't really work, you're like, I can compare to how I felt like with the other pieces I just purchased or just tried on.
yeah.
So
And I
it
think
is
that's
so
like the
helpful.
beauty also of like working, well, working with someone regularly, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like my clients who come in regularly, and kind of also then knowing like what's in their closet and like what they're
Mm-hmm.
putting on. And you're like, oh my gosh, like that looks good. I can tell you really love it. And it's going to go great with ABC that you already have, you know, in your closet as well. And I think people try to talk themselves into styles like all the time, and it's not worth it because that's when you're just like, you have all this stuff in your closet and you have nothing to wear. And that's also a difference. Like, if like our casual style is totally different, but we're confident in it and how we're wearing it. And so, like, if you love a jogger set, but you aren't sure you can pull it off, you don't have to wear it the same way that somebody else is wearing a jogger set. You know, like I had a hooded cream jogger set on like 2 Saturdays ago, and I put this green blazer over it, and I like had the
Mm-hmm.
hood popping out of it. And it was kind of a, you know, putting a blazer over a super casual jogger set, but
Yeah.
I was loved how it looked, and I was wearing it like so confidently that I got so many compliments on it. But had I put it on and I was like, this is like the weirdest jacket ever. And then by the time I get to work and I'm like trying to convince myself that like this is something that I want to wear, by midday, I'm already like trying to find something else to wear in the store because I'm like not comfortable.
Yep. And that's what happens. Yeah. You get self-conscious too. You just want to pull it off. You're like, this is not working.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I'm not the same person I was when I put this on.
Yes. And you, when you are shopping at boutiques or Nordstrom or wherever you want to shop, it is important. I do believe it is important to find that salesperson that you really like, that you can go back to. Nobody knows where I used to work, but before I was a stylist, I did work at a boutique. No one knows. I never mentioned it because it was just a horrible experience. But the woman that owned the store, when I was there, I was very honest with people. Like, I cannot lie, even with my clients. Like, my face will show before I want to say what I want to say. My face will show my reaction of how I feel about what they're wearing or what they're saying. I can't lie. So, I worked at this boutique. I think I was like 19 or 20. I started my business when I was 22. I was just very honest with people, and I wouldn't make the sales goal of the day or the month. And not because I can't sell, but because I was so honest, and she had very high expectations. And she pulled me off to the side one day and she was like, you know, I know that you're good at sales. You're very good with people, but she's like, sometimes you have, she didn't say that you have to lie, but she just said, sometimes you really have to actually make your sale. She wasn't trying to say lie, but she meant it.
Yeah.
You have to make your sales goal. And this lady could sell a size small sweater to a size large or extra large person. Like she would sell it. She wouldn't even care. And her
Yeah.
clothing was like $400. It wasn't like a $40 sweater. It was like a $400 sweater. I could not. I had to quit so quickly after working there. I'm like, I need my own business. I am not going to lie to people, but yeah, it's very unfortunate. And then when I have a lot of brands I think of. When I think of relaxed casual styles, what are some brands that come to mind for you?
Yeah. Personally, my top three like casual brands I would have to say is I'll go from probably the most casual would be Perfect White Tea. They're handmade in LA, and the fits are awesome. Most of the products are 100% cotton. And the funny thing is when I first brought them in, they just have this like classic V-neck, and people would be like, oh, $58 for a V-neck. They would try it on, fall in love with it, and then like come back and buy two more colors. And so it's just like such a easy, their fabrications are just really comfy and they're just really easy throw on fits. Um, in our top 10 for last year, we sold their Tyler sweater, their Blondie tank, which is like a really nice, like heavier kind of ribbed where you feel like you're just like pushed in, you know?
Hmm.
And what was the third one? I think the V-neck. I've been going over, it's the beginning of the year. So going over numbers last year, and I was
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, sometimes you're like kind of like not sure what's selling and you know what you love, but I was like, okay, that's cool. But so that one, and that's literally that's what they do. They have perfected the perfect white tee. So it's not just white t-shirts, but that is like what they um specialize in. So they do just real casual wear. The next one I would say is Project Social Tea. That's another USA made brand. And they're kind of we've been carrying them for 6 years, like from the beginning. They do give backs to like 15% of their proceeds go back to things. And so I always try to kind of support brands that do that kind of stuff or that are doing things to care about the planet and like make a less like footprint or doing their stuff like in producing it in the US. But why I love that brand is that they've really nailed like the casual, upscaled, like sophisticated silhouette. So you put it on, and then like I will have people walking through the store, and the best compliment ever is when people are like, "Oh my gosh, everything in here is so soft." I was telling somebody I wish I could like record people because this lady was with their it was two women, they were with their husbands, and this one of the ladies was trailing behind. She touched something and she grabbed it off and she was like chasing them, going, "Oh my gosh, you have to feel this. It feels so soft." And so Project Social Tea, their different blends and stuff of their fabrics are just so yummy. And I can sell that to my 20-year-old client and then also to my 60-year-old client. So they've just got a really good fit for all. I don't want to say all body types, but all ages. They've got a cool style that kind of transcends through all the different age groups. And my third would have to probably be groceries apparel. They are, or not groceries apparel, but that's actually a good one, rich or poor. So they make the most delicious like joggers and sweaters, and it's cold by me. It gets kind of cold by you too. So they just make a really good, like heavy duty, and just really great. Like even this t-shirt that I have on right now, This is actually like a weighted t-shirt. So it's a little bit thicker, but it doesn't feel that much thicker than any of my other t-shirts, but it gives you like that weighted blanket kind of compression. So it's like my favorite travel t-shirt, like because you just kind of feel a little, it's supposed to calm you, like when you like put it on.
Yeah.
And they do like responsible sourcing. Like one of my favorite joggers from them is like recycled plastic bottles and stuff. And so that would have to be my third like favorite
Ooh.
relaxed style brand.
Those are great. I don't think I've explored those before. And you're at buying, like where do you go buying? Do you go to Vegas or do you go to LA or
So the funny thing is that I've really only ever gone to Chicago, to Style Max. I've never actually gone to any of the bigger like marts or
uh-huh.
anything like that. I usually find brands traveling. So I'm originally from Hawaii. When I came over, I already knew that there was a bunch of brands that I loved. And so I just emailed them and said, hey, I'm opening up a store. I was a merchandiser and like I've worked with your label, like at this, place. And I would really love to have you guys in my boutique. And so that's kind of how I didn't even go to a market to open the store. That's how I curated and opened the store. And then whenever we travel, I make it a mission to Google different boutiques or boutiques that I've been following, like on social media, and then I'll go check it out. I'll try stuff on, I'll buy a pair of jeans or something and wear them for 2 months before I purchase it for the store. Um, I just am a I don't want to say a snob about like fabrics, but it's just like something that is really important to me is I don't want to sell somebody a pair of jeans that they're not going to feel good in and then falls apart on them in,
Mhm.
3 to 6 months. I really try my best not to support fast fashion as much as possible. And so I feel like being able to be up close and personal with the fabrics and trying them on and stuff has just been the best way to purchase them. Because if I go to the trade shows and stuff, it's like great, but it's also like I can't try it on. It's not my size. Like I can touch it and feel it, but I don't get to actually physically put it on and see like how
Mhm.
it's fitting.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. I always get inspired when I travel. I love seeing, even just in different states, different cities,
Yeah.
different countries, how people are dressing differently, combining their colors, the brands that they carry. I haven't had a lot of time to do that since COVID. I had my baby kind of during COVID. So it's been
Yeah.
this like past few years of not being able to explore as much. But also what happened unfortunately with COVID is a lot of the boutiques in Seattle ended up closing or they just ended up like not getting new things. And so usually, with boutiques, it's so exciting because they'll bring in a new designer that they just discovered and they did the trunk shows. And that's how I kept up to date. Not even just boutiques, but even big brand stores when they carried a new brand, it was like a big deal. They did a party for it so you could try things on. You got to meet the designer that came in. And I haven't had that lately, and it's been so nice to reconnect with different boutiques. Like even with you, I think we haven't worked
Yeah.
since COVID together. And there's another boutique I've worked with for years called The Finery, and we reconnected and are working together again. And I'm making it a priority in my day as a stylist too, to once a month go out to different boutiques and see like what they carry. But another thing is that I also like having the good relationships with the boutique owners.
Yeah.
So if I don't feel that connection with them, it doesn't feel right to support them, if that makes sense. So I'm just very picky too with the boutiques I've worked with in the past and that I continue to work with. But it's just really special when like I love hearing you talk about everything because it reminds me of when I had my store too. But you just know so much about the brands that you carry that you can just share so much information. And when people come in, it's not just trying things on, but it's like the story behind it. And
Yeah.
people love that stuff. Like this is one I actually bought from the Finery a few weeks ago. It's a little bumblebee and it looks so luxurious for a piece of
Yeah.
jewelry. And I loved all the pieces that they had. This designer, his name is Yochi. Never heard of him before. Went online, loved everything. I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot how much I love boutiques and like little designers that you would never ever discover unless you walked in. So
Yeah, yeah, you just can
really
really
love
find some really unique pieces at the right boutiques, you know?
it.
And I think that's also like a really big thing for myself too, is like I like to even still visit the boutiques in the area to make friendships with the
Mhm.
owners, but also to make sure that I'm not carrying the same stuff as them.
Yeah,
So, you know, because I want to be unique and I want people to be like, well, I have to drive, you know, that 45 minutes or hour. We have a website, but you know, people like to visit. And so
mhm.
I don't want them to feel like, well, I could just go here, like
Of
instead of driving
course.
to get those brands, you know?
And with your store, do you feel like your website is like up to date with everything you carry? Oh, it is. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. I was so previously when we worked together in the past, my website, I was having a really, and that's the tricky thing with boutiques that are smaller. So, you know, it's really hard to always be maintaining your website and having that connection when you don't have the right, like, what am I trying to say? Like your register systems that are connecting to the backside. And so that was like a huge issue for us. But finally, the register system that I work with, when COVID hit, decided
Mhm.
that they were gonna make a website for it. So we've been able to finally like figure out how to like connect it all and stuff. And so for the most part, all the clothing and stuff is on there, but like a lot of our handmade jewelry and stuff, like we're still kind of like now getting to the next level to like up, you know, loading that stuff to make it easy for people to shop and stuff.
Because I find too with some clients, I want to do boutique. Like I said, I can't always make it out because my schedule is literally pretty much back to back, like Zoom calls. I do a lot with people all around the US and around the
Yeah.
world. So it's like Zoom calls, or I'm with a client, or I'm doing the podcast. And the podcast is my passion project. I'm not making money off of this podcast, but I love it. And I love connecting with other people in business. And also, it's a great way for my clients and people that really enjoy the podcast to connect with me and learn something. So I am just very dedicated to it. But I am adding, and I started it this month, where every month, one time a month or two times a month, me and Chloette, my lead stylist, we have to go out and just go to boutiques, get up to date with what they have, because sometimes they don't have everything up to date on their
Yeah.
website, or some of them don't even have a website. They just have the homepage and the address, but they have cool stuff. So what we're doing as a stylist team is that we're going in, we're kind of seeing what their inventory, what they have in at the moment. So if we do get a client that we think would be a great fit, then we know, okay, well, this boutique has things that they could use and we could just go there. So we're
Yeah.
trying to make that initiative of adding that into how we work with clients again.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
And I think that we can wrap this up because I feel like I could talk to you all day. But before we wrap up, I would like for you to share if you could give our audience one piece of advice to have that effortless look. I know we talked a lot already of different tips, but if you could leave them with one thing that they could take away, like how do you feel like they could achieve that?
um, I think, my gosh, I'm like, I don't know how to narrow it down to one thing because I
Right?
feel like that effortlessly cool, casual look, it can be hard to achieve it the first time. So I feel like just like don't give up, basically, like because you are probably going to have to play around a few times to figure out like what actually feels good. And sometimes, you know, we're seeing a lot of like stars and stuff like that and influencers like wearing all these like super casual like jogger sets and neutral colors and like you know kind of like pulling it off in like a photo or a reel. Like you have to remember that they're basically like a stylist, you know, so you're gonna need to like try a little bit. It's a trial and error thing, I feel like. So don't be too hard on yourself if you want to achieve it, and don't be afraid to kind of like ask for tips and help from whoever's there that at the store, you know.
I think that's really great. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. And where can we find you online on Instagram? What is your store website?
It's super easy. Everything is just the American Alchemy. So on Facebook, that is how you can find us. On Instagram, that's how you can find us. And art, it's basically theamericanalchemy.com.
And for everybody listening, if you are intrigued, you want to learn more, you want to support local business, you want to discover other brands outside of the ones that you currently shop from, definitely go on Instagram, like her, check out her website, reach out to her if you have questions and need help with what to purchase or what you're looking for. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.